There's an interesting match that is going to happen between India and Pakistan, and we all know who is hosting it. So Hotstar was quite famous for hosting such live events, and then Jio bought Hotstar because the live streaming of Hotstar was pretty good. And in this video, we'll explore what goes behind the scenes of Hotstar, to manage all the things, all the live streams, and the tsunami of the viewers coming at the peak moment. Let's explore how Hotstar or JioHotstar prepares for it. The preparation starts somewhere around 3-4 months ago, and they do a lot of load testing before going to live. So they do a chaos engineering to figure out the smoothest way to live stream any event. Let's talk about the preparation that they do. So first of all, they prepare CPUs and RAMs and the system to send the load on the server that they have created for the live stream. So they create load testers and put lot of CPUs and RAMs into it, that it can perform very well and it can test the load just like the real users. So they use more than 1 lakh of CPUs and more than 200 TBs of RAM to just test out the traffic. You can imagine how much they go into testing out the performance before live streaming any match. But one thing to mention over here is auto scaling doesn't work like you think. So you do not have unlimited scaling of the servers as you expect an auto scaling groups to be. Auto scaling groups cannot extend the servers unlimitedly, and you can just have a whole vertical scaling without any restrictions. So there are some restrictions from Amazon that is going to be limit your application from scaling. And there was this another issue that they were facing, that when they were testing out everything, the main users, the live users, were getting affected. So to prevent this, they created different regions of AWS in different countries, and they tested on different regions so the live region doesn't get affected much. So they had more than 8 regions to test it on, and there were some regions that were live. They have to do a live testing before hosting such events. They cannot do the live testing on the region where the live users are requesting the server. So they created multiple regions to tackle this down. Auto scaling doesn't give you power to scale unlimitedly, or I can say scaling up without restriction. So there are some restrictions from the Amazon that you cannot scale up to a certain limit, and if the servers are not available in the region, you are going to face some issues because ASGs work with the single instance type. If the single instance type is not going to run, suppose that an ASG called an instance to fire up and it didn't fire up because there were no resources in that region available for the Amazon to give you, then you will see a resource error which might break down the application. So how do they tackle it? Whenever they face some errors from the ASG, that this error was sent by the ASG, and they process it through SNS and call the lambda functions to recall an ASG with a different region to turn on a different machine. So in this way, they handle errors from the ASGs. So now you know there are some restrictions in ASGs also. Then comes one more challenge, that if you are going to scale up the server at the time of the peak moment, you are going to face some issues that the server will take some time to run, and you do not have 4-5 minutes to wait for it to run and then send some traffic to the healthy server. So what they do is they have a threshold of 10 million users, so they start auto scaling at 1 million, and by the time the viewership hits the 10 million, they already have an up and running server, a healthy server to drive the traffic on. And that's how they handle the overwhelming of the CPUs or the delay in auto scaling. And they do a lot of chaos engineering into it to figure out the bottlenecks to choke points and everything which can happen in the live stream, and they try to remove it. One of the things that they found out was whenever the marketing team was sending some notifications, they were seeing a lot of peak viewership on it. So when the peak viewership comes in, you have to be well prepared for it. And how are they prepared for it? So they have a traffic pattern predictor which predicts the pattern of the users. Suppose that when Dhoni comes to bat, or when India wins the toss, what will be the concurrent viewership at that time? Dhoni comes to bat, the predictor will tell you that there will be certain amount of viewership that is going to land on your application, and their system and their auto scaling groups and everything performs based on that prediction. They prepare a lot to make it smooth as possible. Also, there are some CDN errors that they have to consider. There are some bottlenecks that they have to consider, and these are the things that goes behind when you are watching the match live. If CDN error occurs, there will be millions of users that are going to be affected by that. They create a system in such a way that if an CDN error comes into play or any other error comes into play, they are going to handle it pretty well, sending all the logs on the server, and all the DevOps team is watching those logs, and the monitoring graphs and event loops, they are watching it live. So if anything goes wrong, they know it on their server. And that's how you are going to see a live stream between India and Pakistan on JioHotstar. Bye bye, see you in other video talking about more engineering stuff. Bye bye.